Hey friends, welcome back to the Destination Baby and Kids YouTube channel. This is Gina. I am really excited to be here with you today to go over this car seat that I've got in front of me. This is going to be, I have to make sure I say the name correctly because it's quite a mouthful. It's the Graco 4Ever DLX Extend2Fit Snuglock car seat with ARB bar. So this is going to be Graco's most expensive all-in-one seat. And what I mean by all-in-one is that it is backward, it is forward, both with a harness. It's also a high back booster, and then it turns into a backless booster. So it's going to hit all of those notes. I'm just adjusting this here to make sure we have enough space to show everything about the seat. So now that we're adjusted, let's launch into what makes this guy special. So typically when you set this up, it would come with 2 cup holders. I'm not putting them on my seat right now. Our viewing audience is generally bright enough to understand that it would come with them and you could put them on if you wanted. If you're not putting the cup holders on, the overall width of the seat is 18 inches. If you put the cup holders on, you're gonna be at a 19-inch width. So something to keep in mind there, if you're trying to squeeze it into a tighter spot, you may wanna just leave those cup holders off the seat, but they are included in the purchase price of $419. So what's going to make this one different from a lot of the Graco seats that I have reviewed in the past is that in a rear-facing mode, this seat can do what's referred to as extended rear-facing, which means that it holds 50 pounds. So it goes rear-facing from 5 to 50 pounds, forward-facing from 22 to 65 in the 5-point harness. Then it will become a high back booster for children. I believe it's up to 100 pounds, and let's make sure we get this correct. So for a high back booster, we can do up to 120 pounds and 57 standing inches. So that's quite large. I just want to make sure that there isn't a weight differentiation for backless. Now I'm on the Spanish side, so that's not going to do me any good. So yeah, we'll assume that for both backless and high back, you're at the same height and weight, which is that 120 pounds and the 57 standing inches, which is quite tall. Now, height really doesn't matter unless you have a nice seated torso harness height. This is the headpiece for the infant insert. This is for a rear-facing mode. The seated torso height here is going to be 18 inches. So that's really nice. It's a nice, tall, seated torso height. On some of the other less expensive seats that you find, you have a cutout of like 15 or 16 inches of seated torso height. That means that even if the seat holds a heavy weight capacity, the child's body is long, they're not going to fit in it nicely. So this does have a nice, tall, seated torso harness height, which is great, again, if we're doing that extended rear facing. Now, the other thing about extended rear facing with this seat that I think is really nice features, are going to be something quirky too with this seat is that you have recline on both the back of the seat as well as on the front of the seat. So that's kind of interesting. So now we've got the seat in the most reclined position. That would be for, like, you know, a newborn, a 5-pound child. The body insert is used until the child is 20 pounds and is only for rear-facing mode. So since that's how we're showing it right now, we'll leave it on there. As you can see, we've got an anti-rebound bar. I love this feature. I wish that all the Graco seats that they had came with an option to purchase an anti-rebound bar or had the ability to hook one up. It is an incredibly stabilizing force in an accident to prevent rotation upward. So anytime a seat offers it, I do love that when they do, and I'm generally going to advocate for people to consider doing some type of anti-rebound feature on their convertible car seat, as well as their infant seat, any rear-facing seat, basically. So I'm going to hook it up. It's clicked on. So that's really nice. You've got a nice deep seat. It's about 13 inches deep. Now the other thing that's cool is that they have a panel here that reads extend for extra legroom. So there's a multitude of places that this guy will stop. The highest or the longest extension piece that you would get out of it is an additional 5 inches. Now that sounds incredible, but what I would caution you about is that when you install a car seat in rear-facing mode, almost all of them have what is referred to as the 80-20 rule, which means 80% of the car seat has to be on your vehicle's seat bench, and you can have as much as 20% hanging off, but no more than that. So this seat falls in line with that guideline. So if you extend it out 5 inches and the whole thing's dangling off the back and you're not able to get a good tight installation, obviously you should not use it that way. So that's just something to be aware of. Yes, you could theoretically get more leg room, but it is going to push the seat further back. Additionally, when you introduce more leg room in a situation like this, what that almost always means is that whomever is sitting in front of the seat will have to scoot their seat a bit more forward or have their backrest sit more upright in order to accommodate space behind the seat so that the two are not compressed on each other. So yes, it has more leg room, but just be mindful that that may or may not be something that's incredibly useful for you in your specific vehicle situation. Now, that being said, the removal of this was a little bit intense. I think you press both buttons and it has like a spring mounted piece in there. Oh, that one came out. Okay. Okay, sweet. I let it pop out last time and it actually stopped my entire recording. So I'm glad that we didn't have that accident this time. Anti Rebound Bar removed. Now we can maybe move it into a forward facing mode. We'll assume that we've done extended rear facing and left them backward to the full 50 pounds. Sit the seat more upright. And there are different upright positions as well, depending on the child's weight. And it's clearly labeled on the side of the seat. So certain situations you're able to use certain inclines, and other situations you won't be able to. But again, it's very clearly marked on the seat. The seat itself has the 10 position adjustable harness. So it's not a rethread harness. It is a, it's not a manual rethread harness. It is a no rethread harness, which is really nice, so that if we want to adjust it for different size children, it's very easy to do that. Now, this seat is quite heavy. It's actually really heavy. And the reason being is that it has a steel frame, so we do appreciate that. That will make the seat stronger in an accident. And we also have bike helmet foam lining the interior of the headrest of the seat. There isn't bike helmet foam in the body. It's not really the end of the world, but I would expect on their most premium seat that that might have been something that they would have offered that would differentiate it from their other 4Ever DLX Extend2Fit Grad with seatbelt trainer. That would be another one I would look at. But it's just interesting that that seat and this seat, even though they're on the premier end for Graco, they've only got the bike helmet foam up here in the headrest. So something to keep in mind. Now, like that seat, you have the Snuglock feature on this one. And why does that matter? This seat's actually so heavy that you can only use the lower anchor connectors, which are those latch connectors. Some people are obsessed with using latch connectors. Your latch connector end point for rear facing, I believe, is like 35 pounds. And then for forward facing, it's going to be 40 pounds. Yeah, your lower anchor connector maximum weight is going to be 35 pounds on this seat, which means that after your child is 35 pounds, you're going to need to reinstall it with the seat belt. And if you're like, oh my God, I really don't want to do that, that's the worst, fear not. What they've included, which is quite brilliant, is what's called the Snuglock technology. And all that is, it's an adjustable leverage arm that clamps onto your seatbelt. So if you've ever had that nightmare of installing a car seat where it just keeps scooting left to right, and no matter how much you tighten the seatbelt at the belt retractor, it won't make the seat tight, this guy has the Snuglock technology for both a rear-facing installation as well as a forward-facing installation. So you get an arm for both types of installations, rear or forward facing. And that was true on the other 4Ever DLX Extend2Fit that I looked at, which also included Snuglock. So if you're gonna buy a Graco car seat, I would always encourage getting Snuglock. I think it's really, really worthwhile. It makes a belt installation 80 million times easier. And my biggest gripe on their super skinny seat that they have is that they have a belt lock off. It's not even Snuglock. They have a belt lock off in forward facing mode, but not one in rear facing mode. So that's not infuriating at all, especially if you're trying to do a 3 across and you only have the option to use the seat belt, because obviously you wouldn't be able to use the latches based on the space. But I digress. So, nice feature on this one is that we've got the belt lock off in both the rear and the forward facing positions. You'll notice as well They have the little buckle tucks that are sewn into the fabric. It's definitely a nice feature. Instead of the elastic, it's just a little bit more premium with the ability to lock it over. Now, this guy, similar to the other Graco's 4Evers, the thing that people seem to really enjoy, ooh, this is nice. This has a harness storage for when you're ready to turn it into a back or a high back booster. So once the child is past the 65 pounds or their body is too long to effectively sit with this harness and they're ready to move to seatbelt mode. Now again, theoretically you could start as soon as 40 pounds. We would never encourage that. We would always encourage you to use the car seat in every mode to its like maximum height and weight. So rear facing, we'd try and leave them rear facing as long as possible. If you can't do that, then you move to forward facing and you leave them in that 5-point harness forward facing as long as you can before you switch over to booster. It's just safer. So once you're ready, you can tuck all of this away and shove that closed, which is great. There's actually this panel that opens up here, which is clever. And this, you'd be able to tuck everything away and underneath. I'm not gonna get into it right this instant because it'll take too long and it'll be too fussy, but it's able to hide all of these straps so that they're just using the seatbelt, and you've got belt guides obviously on both sides. So here you'd be able to use your seatbelt, you have that nice 12 inches, you've got the 13-inch depth, and then you would have your 2 cup holders. When you're ready, you may want to remove the back. Now this one, I'm sure you can also do the lower anchors and the top tether when it is in high back booster mode. You can with their other seat, so this one I'm fairly certain you'd be able to do that as well. But just keep in mind, when you go to the butt only, there's those are gonna go away. So when we're ready to remove this, it's the same as with the other one that I looked at today, which was the one with the seatbelt trainer. There's little red pieces on the interior. You wanna make sure you're in your most upright. You pull those red pieces after you flip them up together. So you pinch them together, and then the seat will, supposed to come apart. We'll see if I'm able to do it. So that went pretty sweet. The one step that I neglected to do was to remove the harness from the splitter plate, which only takes about 1 second. That's what I'm doing right now. And here's that steel frame on the seat. And in this case, we would actually have to remove the lower anchors from their storage place so that we could take the back off and turn it into just the butt-only booster. So a little bit more involved than the last one that I did for swapping it over, but still very capable. I just want to make sure I don't get any of this stuff caught when I put it back. But it goes back together relatively easily as well. So that's nice. And then at that point, you would take these little guys and shove them over and lock them into place to make sure that your backrest actually stays on appropriately. But it would be so uncomfortable for the kid with those up that they would shout at you anyway. So you probably couldn't screw that up even if you wanted to. All of this stuff comes on and off easily with the Velcro, so that's really nice. I have to say, by and large, I'm definitely a fan of these Graco 4Ever seats. It's nice that they can turn into the butt-only booster, but to be perfectly frank, I probably wouldn't buy this one. If I was gonna spend the money, I would get this one, the other one that I reviewed, with the seatbelt trainer. It doesn't come with the Anti Rebound Bar, but I like that it's narrower, and I really like the seatbelt trainer option here. But again, if you think the greater value for you is going to be able to use it in the rear facing mode with the Anti Rebound Bar and the leg extension, you're not going to get a seat more accommodating than this guy. So we'll give it great marks for that. It really does a whole host of things, and it does it very safely and very nicely. Again, $419 price point. Definitely their most premium seat. I have to say, all in all, it's a nice little option and it can really do a lot. So if you have questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below. If you want to hit like or subscribe, we would encourage you to do that as well. If you have friends or family that would benefit by sharing this video with them, we would encourage you to do that because knowledge is power and sharing is caring. Thank you so much for watching. We appreciate every view and every viewer. And again, please feel free to hit us up with any questions or comments. We love hearing from you. Thank you so much, and we will see you in our next video.